My hat! So I'm using this piece of wood for this one. On the other one, so in the other video where I made the Tamiya Dean's plug, I did not use the board because I actually liked the way it looked on the black background. The only problem is once you get solder on the mat, then it just burns that top layer. But this was the previous video, so check how to make this one out. And right now we will make a Deans to Traxxas or Traxxas to Deans. Now here I need a female Traxxas connector so I can plug it in to a male lead. And I need a male Deans connector so I can plug into a female lead. So this is going from charger to battery. That's the idea. Or it could go from ESC to battery. So you're going to need the connector housing, this portion here. You're going to need the two leads. And in the other video with the Tamiya plugs, I said, they're very similar, and they are. So Traxxas and Deans are very similar. Deans are actually a thicker gauge. It appears to be, no, they're about the same. They're about the same, but once you add the spring, it will be thicker. Because Deans has the spring right here. That's what gives you that firm connection. Versus Traxxas, it has to do with this here. So you see that the spring is on top, and then this will slide in, but here it's loose. You actually need the other plastic backing, and that's what's going to produce the friction. So I do think Deans are a little better, but what I do like about Traxxas is that they're a little further apart when you solder the wires. So the wires would go in there versus Deans, they're pretty close, but still not a big deal. They both handle about 60 amps of current, up to 60 amps of current. If you start going over that, you're probably going to melt something. But that being said, let me go ahead and just grab this, actually grab by the insulation. So just like any connector, you want to pre-tin everything. So everything has to be pre-tinned in order for it to solder properly, or else you run the risk of having a cold solder, which isn't a good connection, and then current isn't going to go through or be transferred. But in order to tin, just in case you haven't watched the other videos, you're just going to apply some solder, and notice I'm just heating the terminal and I'm applying the solder to the terminal. You don't need to apply the solder to the gun, because once the terminal reaches the correct temperature, it should just melt. So again, I'm applying it here, and just notice I'm going to touch the terminal, and that is it. So the solder will just run to the hot area. And that is it. Now these here I had already pre-tinned. The important thing with Traxxas is this is the smooth side. This side, unfortunately I tinned it before I could show you, has these little hash marks. That's the side you want to tin. Now, something that you could do is you could use some wire and then just have this a little longer. That's a possibility. Or you can try to have just a really neat solder to make something small like this. And that's what we are going to try. So the important thing, let me just grab this. This is cool enough. This vertical one on a Dean's plug, this is the positive, and this flat side, this is the negative terminal. So when you grab the Traxxas one, Traxxas actually marks them, and it's important because they're both flat, so you can't discriminate between the two if it's not marked, unless you just memorize it. But Dean's, it's very easy. You look at it, vertical, positive, horizontal, negative. Therefore, it's going to go like this, right? You can't really see, but that's the positive, this is the negative. So it will go something like this, which means that I will have to solder one of these flat, and the other one I'm just going to solder here on the edge, and it's going to be toward the center. Now, something to keep in mind is the orientation. So if you look at these little pins that stick out, the So if you orient this, let's see if you can see, there we go. So assuming this is the bottom, so the flat side's the bottom, and that's the top, this little pin, the rear one, has to be facing up so that it locks into place. So this one locks in front, this one locks in the back. So that's an important piece of the orientation. You can also figure it out, I mean, even if you don't know that, because once this is tinned and you know that is tinned, well, this is where the wire is going to go. So if that's where the wire is going, well, the wire has to go in the round little spot here. So that's how you know. Which means, actually, I just realized this, I'm actually going to have to tin the back side of this so that this sits here. Wait, no, will I? Let me just double check. How will this sit? All right. Yes, I will have to. Not a big deal. Well, actually, I can move this up. Just move that up so I can solder it underneath, which means it'll be the teens. No, then that wouldn't connect very well there. All right, yes, I will have to tin the bottom of one of these. So let me just go ahead and tin the bottom. So I'm actually tinning the bottom of one of these Traxxas terminals, which will make it easy for me to determine which one I want to solder first. All right, so that's the one I shall be soldering first, and that I have to solder to this. So therefore, this side is going to go here. Now I just need to use my helping hands. Sometimes that insulation gets in the way. I want to make sure I have a good grip. Will that work? Yeah, that'll work. Good. Now, I'm trying to cool this so I can handle and I can move it without burning myself. All right. Let's see. Here we go. And we'll do that. So what I will be doing is I will try to apply heat to both of them at the same time, and then I will just move one toward the other. Right now I'm just trying to tighten my helping hands, and I'm just going to touch the insulation. That's what you want to be touching. You don't want to touch the metal. So the insulation on these alligator clips. And I'm going to apply the heat right here. There's solder on both of them, so it should work. After you apply the heat, you could grab some pliers as it's hot and then squeeze them together. That will work as well. But let's go ahead and do this. Just in case solder falls, I'm going to get my finger out of the way. And you want to hold them relatively straight. And there you go, you see the melted solder. Now I'm just applying pressure upward on this one and downward on that one. And I'm also bending this so it stays straight. It should cool pretty fast. There we go. That looks fine. One thing that I may end up having to do is clean that solder from the tinning on the other side, which is something for you to keep in mind. Let's grab this. So I'm grabbing it from the insulation, and I'm just going to grab this piece. So it's the negative end. Let's see, which one was the negative? This one. Right, so this one will go this way. And I do believe I'm going to have to straighten that out. It'll be fine. Right now I just want to see if that would slide in. I think it would slide in. No, it will not. So this is going to be a potential issue. So here, I think I am going to have to solder on the top. So let me go ahead and redo it. So this one, I'm going to flip it to the other side. And I guess the one I should have tinned is actually the Dean's plug. Anyway, not a big deal. So the problem with grabbing metal with metal, oh, actually I have some pliers that are insulated. All right, there we go. All right, so I said that I am going to tin the top part. So let me tin the top part. Will actually be this side, the side with the spring. So if you look at the side with the spring, that's the side you want to tin. So let's go ahead and tin that real quick, which is actually the opposite side that you would generally solder wires to. It's all right. Now this will save you quite a bit of money because you can get 2 Dean's plugs or Dean style plugs for pretty good price, pretty inexpensive, versus if you buy the connector. I think the connectors are about $8. So right now I'm just going to try to melt this solder off, and don't do this at home. I'm kidding. I mean, where else would you do it? So now I have a few little bits of solder there. It's just trying to get the excess off. It's easier if you do this with pliers, to be honest. Now, let's see. So this side was tinned, and that's the side that is going to go here. I know this is hot, so I will not be messing with it using my bare hands. All right, and go, try to make it straight. To grip well as well. Yes, it is easier if you do it with wire, but I don't want wire. I want this to be as short as possible. All right, and there it is. So I'm going to do it again. This one's nice and tight, so I'm going to be lifting on this actually, using insulation. It's not very straight. There. Right, that is better. And right now we're working on the negative one. The heat will transfer from one to the other. I'm just going to apply the heat this way. Press down. And all right. There it is. Now the one that's going to be a challenge is actually the other one. Alright, so this is the negative one, but let's see, negative is this one. So I have to flip this. That will go in there. And, alright, so I have to solder it on the side. Let me just go ahead and place this in here to give you an idea on how this will have to be soldered. So when this goes in, I'm actually going to solder it on top toward the middle. So it'll be soldered this way. And I'm going to have to check to make sure that there is solder there. There is some solder there, so I'm not going to worry about it. All right, let's go ahead and do this. All right, so that will go. Did I say in the middle like this? I believe I did. All right, here we go. All right, let's see. Can't really see because of the camera. I don't want to stick my head in the way, but it looks like it melted. All right. Nope, that did not work. So I accidentally moved it and it's too far out. So I want these to line up, and I need to fix the connection. So let me just melt this a little and then try to pull this out. Nope. There. All right. Pretty much have to break it. Let me do this because I'm not liking. There we go. I'll hold it this way. All right, let's try it again. Actually, I could hold both of them. All right. Hold that there, move that in here, and there it is. And keep these relatively straight. Perfect. Too close together. Lining them up is the challenge, really. I'm actually going to approach it from here. All right, there we go. Still a little hot. All right, let me just cool this down a little. And one of the things that I'm going to have to do is, so notice this is the Dean's plug, but these are a little too close together. So I'm going to try to grab it, see if I can bend it without breaking it. So let me just grab my other two pliers, another set of pliers, and see if I can manage. Yeah, that worked. All right, and now just need to grab this. So let's see, negative, positive. These will go in here. And I'm just wedging this in. I'm actually going to use this. I wonder if I can use this. Maybe. All right, so there it is. Now I'm going to try plugging this in. These are a little bent, so you want to straighten these out, which I will try to do right now. And there are two ways to straighten it out. You can either solder and move it, because this bent again once it came in here, or you can just try to bend it here, but just be careful not to damage the spring. Could damage the spring. Let's see. Oh, that was too far. Move back. All right, there we go. So now that it's here, before I put the insulation, I want to try it out, see if it works. So I just need a male connector, Traxxas, so here we go, and this here, let's see, it'll go this way, right, just connects in there. A little hard to put in there, but anyway, it is connected, just a challenge. And then, once we have this, this one's easy. I'll just go in here, and that slides right in. So at this point, because I know I have a connection, I can just go ahead and seal this, and that'll be it. So let's go ahead and do that. And for that, again, you can use large shrink tubing, or you can just use liquid tape. So for the liquid tape, just grab this and start it off right about here. Just want a nice seal. I prefer a penguin, but I have to go with the seal on this one. Let's see. Almost finished. Just make sure this is, I don't want too much excess on there. I'm going the opposite way. And almost finished. Just removing some of the excess. And that is it. So this is the final product. Now I'm going to trim that once it dries, but that's how you make a little connector. And again, you can use wire. It would have been a lot easier with wire, but then you have a longer connection, and I just don't want one. Although, the only reason why I'm doing this is so I can charge my Tamiya, well, the battery for my Tamiya man truck, which is this. And that's the only reason why. So I could have replaced the terminal on the battery and put a Tamiya plug, but I didn't want to. And I could have replaced the Tamiya terminal on the ESC. I just didn't want to modify it. That's the reason why. So I wanted to keep the Deans, I wanted to keep the Tamiya, but because I do run some Traxxas batteries, I have Traxxas terminals on the charger. So another option that you could have done, right, if you were me, for example, is just buy another one of these and put a Dean's connector on there. But if you need an adapter for whatever reason, let's just say you needed one of these for your batteries because you have these Deans and you're going into a Traxxas vehicle, whatever, there you go. And see, now I have something that can go to Tamiya, I can go to Traxxas. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching.